Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rad Life. And today it's a little bit of a different setting for us, but you'll find out soon why we are in this setting versus in studio, because it's very apropos for what we are about to talk about and the person we're about to talk about. I venture a guess that probably there's a lot of books on the shelves back here that he's already probably either read or are on his to-do list to read, but with that being said, I would love to welcome my good friend and actually at one point my coach, Igor, all the way from Bosnia, joining us today. Igor, really nice to see you, buddy. I know it's later on your end of the world, but great to have you finally on the show. We've been talking about it for a while, and I don't think people are ready for what they are about to experience. I know I wasn't ready for what I was about to experience when I basically reached out to you originally. But thank you for being on the show. For everybody who's joining us, maybe. Oh, my pleasure. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. For those who are basically joining us for the first time, if you're not familiar with the Rad Life, we've been on the air for over 10 years. We started off with a focus on baby boomers, and it became like an exploration of whatever I found interesting in life as I was basically getting older as well. So a shout out to a gentleman by the name of Paul Roberts, who actually at one point dubbed me Age Explorer. And I thought that was really kind of a goofy title until I realized that I was actually living what he had labeled me. And we now that we have basically revamped the show, as part of our larger media platform under the Rad Life, which you can go find out more about that at theradlife.com. There's a whole bunch of resources. Basically, it's about reinvention. It's about embracing change. It's about hunting discomfort. It's about reconnecting with the joy of and pleasant surprise of uncertainty. And that self-growth and wisdom as we get older, and having the right to actually design our lives the way we want to design them. Just like this gentleman here that basically is joining me has done through his own personal journey and is now basically amplifying that through his programs and outreach. And we will tease you a little bit here. We have a surprise to announce to everybody, a collaboration that I'm doing with Igor. So Igor, thank you again for being on the show. I really appreciate you making the time, my friend. And would you just give people a little bit of background about yourself? Don't give it all away right away. Let's tease it a little bit, right? But could you give people a little bit of background? Because I think it's important to get a context, right, of where you are today, but also more importantly, how you found yourself, what was your journey like? Because I think part of what I'm trying to do is encourage people through example that they have not only the right, but almost the inherent responsibility to empower themselves to design their life on their own terms.
Wonderfully said. And first of all, you are welcome and thank you for having me. And like you said, we talked about this for a while, and I'm happy that it's happening now and we can share the story and explore and have some fun with this topic. And like you said yourself, expand on that awareness, which leads to growth, which leads to, all kinds of fun things happening. Give a little bit of a background. Okay, without giving away too much, I love how you did that. So let's say this, 2015, sort of peaking in my career, living in San Francisco. Working for a healthcare industry, creating worksite wellness programs all over Silicon Valley, having fun in the Northern California, being a clinical account executive for all of Northern California for one of the major insurance companies. And by the way, I worked for all of them throughout my career. And suddenly then everything crashes. So a marriage ends, a long relationship ends, my career ends, because at that point, and mind you, this is 2015, my boss says, you know what, Igor, we're going to kill health and wellness. I was responsible for health and wellness. Here I am thinking I'm doing a great thing working for an insurance company. We're not all that bad and evil and all that stuff. Look at us. We're creating worksite wellness programs. But he said openly, we're going to end that. We're not in the business of healthcare and health and wellness. We're in the business of disease management. So we need a disease in order to manage it, in order to pick up a management fee. And this is where our focus is going to be for the most part, which was a huge shock for me. And then also I ended up crashing a motorcycle. These threes, as they do happen in life. Ending of a long relationship, 14 years we were together, 7 in marriage, traveled the world. We were kind of high school sweethearts, but then lost ourselves in the sex, drugs, and rock and roll of San Francisco. Ending of that career and then crashing a motorcycle. Now, mind you, also a little bit of information as well. I was born and raised, and I am currently in Sarajevo, in the beautiful historic Sarajevo, the Jerusalem, as they say, of the Europe and the Balkans.
And talk about that a little bit, because I think, and I appreciate the fact that you did it this way, because that was kind of a pivot point for you, like what happened after 14 years of a relationship, the sort of the disenchantment with the work that you were doing. And for those who you don't know, I want you to explain what that role is that you were doing, because all of a sudden what you thought you were doing, which you mean basically you drank the Kool-Aid, the PR Kool-Aid, right? Like it was we are in the health and wellness and preventive medicine, and then all of a sudden you find out from an internal messaging that no, we're not, we're in disease management. So that probably like had a personal moral component that played out. But then also I think it's important for people to understand what even going back further, right? So please go ahead.
Yes, so a couple of those things. You're absolutely right. Not only was I drinking Kool-Aid, I was drunk on it. I was high off of it because I was doing the very specific things that are bringing benefits. However, just like with many other things that we are discovering in this sort of awakening and revelations part of life that we're going through, this compartmentalization is you're doing things, you're thinking they're actually amazing. However, oh my God, we're actually building an atomic bomb that we're going to drop somewhere, right? You had no idea. So what was I doing? I would go into companies and we would put together worksite wellness plans. What is the idea behind this? A little bit of a technical side to things, or I guess the science behind it. Well, people are at work for 8+ hours. Right? They sleep for 8 hours and then they're at home for 8. During these 8 at home, it's kids' time, it's leisure time, it's TV time, it's all this stuff. So where can you get and talk with these people and actually educate them the most? Well, it's during their business hours while they are at work. So we would come in, we would put together future moms, future parents programs, nurse lines, case management, disease management, walking challenges, Fitbit challenges, all these things. We would bring in yoga teachers or dietitians. And then over a period of 2 months, every Friday, for example, a dietitian comes in and we put together a menu. And then at the end, there's a potluck of all these healthy meals and things of that nature. So we were trying to move the needle and see not only how the program itself is implemented, but then how it affects the numbers. Are we really affecting the numbers? Because that was my journey throughout the healthcare industry. It was first data collection, then data mining, then data reporting, then, oh wow, we're creating programs based on the data to affect the numbers, and then finally to be the support and implement these programs with companies. So you're right. Suddenly they're like, well, wait a minute. Are we not getting results? And what are you talking about? Well, we are doing disease management, but can we do prevention so that it doesn't even get to the disease management part? Yeah. It was a huge, mind F on the brain and on the personality and this idea of who I truly am and what am I doing?
Well, and Igor, just. Yes. Like right now, 2025, especially coming after COVID, right? People are probably going, well, yes, that's what we do. And you're seeing it in a lot of advertising and stuff like that, where it's all promoting this preventive medicine thing, right? So part of it is cost driven. I get that. But part of it is also, even today, unfortunately, and I'm talking at it from a perspective of somebody who's been involved in the wellness industry from the design side and the luxury hospitality side for many, many moons, is that it's still very much a wrapper, but the core business is still disease management. And so you're talking about a period of how long ago? Like 2015, right?
This is
So that you're talking,
2015 when it happens for me, but I'm sure
yeah. So
this has been going on for a while.
right, but I mean, 10 years ago, that conversation was even less like right now. Because people listening to this today, we may go, well, but we talk about prevention now, and we're really got like Kaiser and all these people are really basically pushing for that.
Yes.
And I'm not knocking any of those programs intention wise, but what I'm saying is go back 10 years ago, and nobody was talking about that. That was before COVID, before we had any of that sort of like moments of, aha, wait a minute, there may be another way to do this, right? So,
yes,
so
very
you were
true.
basically inside the lion's den, so to speak.
Yes.
And
This
you're
is when the
basically
Googles,
yeah.
this is when the
Yeah.
Googles of the world, I'm living in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. This is when the Googles of the world are starting their own. I believe Google's program was called Optimize Your Life, OYL or something like that. This is when it was starting to be cool to have a wellness program, which is part of the offering now. You're not going to go to Facebook because Google has this amazing worksite wellness program as well. But even, I love that you're saying that because, you know, when there's so much money in the game, and for whatever reason, people try to shy away from what is the core business. How are we making money? We get to these points where you actually have budgets set up for lawsuits, for attorneys, for payouts that go beyond what certain companies make overall. And so, okay, so if we get sued or if somebody gets injured by our product, well, we're just health and wellness to me at that stage. This is why it was such a huge hit for me, for my heart, for my mind, for my soul. It was like, oh, wait a minute. This is just one of those, okay, I'm a drug dealer mafioso, but I'm going to build a school and people will think, hey, it's at least I've built a school, you know?
You're a touchy-feely, I can empathize and feel your pain drug pusher, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Sopranos, right? It's like, he's a murderer, but we love him, right? It's the Gandolfini type of a deal.
All right. So you had this disillusionment. You had this disillusionment on the career side. And how long had you been doing this for at that point?
Oh, goodness. So I went into healthcare right after I graduated at Arizona State University. I went into Maricopa County Health. Then I went into a Wolters Kluwer, which is sort of a data collection agency for health and for healthcare. Then I went into United Healthcare Group. Then I went into Blue Shield, then Blue Cross. And this has been going on for 17 plus years, 17, 18 years. I did. So let me jump back into how it's
almost two decades of doing this. And what was your degree at Arizona State?
Mathematics. So this is why I got into the
that's very important. It's very important because the mathematician has not gone away. It just has transformed into a different medium, right? Okay. So you're disillusioned in 2015 on the careers on the professional side. You feel like you're not in a space that's really kind of like in alignment with what your beliefs are, value system is. You have this, your marriage, basically a 14-year relationship ending, all of this stuff happening, right? So, and then prior to that, you were starting to say that you actually were born and raised in Sarajevo, right? Okay, yes. So give people a little bit of background about your childhood.
Yeah, so this kind of ties it up, right? Because for those 20 years, almost 20 years that we just mentioned and talked about, I am building my American dream. I am a quote unquote foreigner, a naturalized citizen. I came into the States. I'm doing everything by the book. I follow the rules. I go into the school. I start building my career. I start at the very bottom. Now I'm at the VP levels. It's a Hollywood movie story, right? Because I was born and raised in Sarajevo. Back in the 90s, I was a teenager. I was 14 when the war started, right? And for those of you that know, for those of you that don't, it is a fact of life. Sarajevo in the 90s, that is now classified as the longest siege of a capital city in the history of modern warfare, right? So you are surrounded by mountains, and on these mountains you have tanks and all kinds of artillery and snipers, and there's no. This is why it's mind-blowing, right? Because even now, when I think about it and when I talk about it, there's no way for you to truly imagine for a week, for a month, let alone for almost 4 years. There's no water. There is no electricity. And these are the 90s. This is just the beginnings of the internet and all that stuff. Take away people's phone now, they're just going to go berserk. But there's no gas, no water, no electricity, no food. There's shelling everywhere. Men are going to fight to stop the onslaught of military to get into the city. This is how I was growing up as a teenager. So there was always this revolutionary side to me, regardless, right? And for people not to just be like, oh my God, life goes on, just as it did when I crashed the motorcycle, just as it did when the VP told me what it did, just as we signed the papers with my former wife, just as it did after the war, during the war in school. Life goes on, and you keep on living, even in these kinds of conditions, right? And the little thing in me always, there was a little helper for whatever reason. People always came to me to ask questions, or what do you think? Because I would always ask these questions that just they didn't like, because like, why are you questioning everything? Just take it for what it is. Well, I haven't experienced it, and I want to talk to people who have experienced it, and then we share our experiences and think about it, contemplate, figure out what in the world is happening. Because at this age still, and at this stage, as I'm sure many viewers and listeners, why are we here, guys, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen? Why are we here? What is our purpose, right? It's still one of those things that, yes, we love to believe that it comes from the spirit and through the soul, but even this SF Walker, for me, initially it started, potentially, yes, it's a mission. It is a mission, but it started off as it's still feeding that personality.
What is SF Walker?
So SF is San Francisco, and Walker is the guy that walks, right?
Okay. Now you found yourself in San Francisco, in this crisis, in this crossroads, in this moment,
yes.
Right? And what was it that, like, because obviously not only are you carrying, call it generational trauma from Sarajevo, but you're now also carrying grief from what's happening in San Francisco.
Yes.
Right. So it's compounded. Yes. Right.
Yes.
So I don't know if sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't. Is there a moment that you look back at and go, okay, this was the turning point? This was a moment where I had either a revelation in my head, or I had a moment of quietness that something kind of like resonated or metabolized for me. Was there a moment, or was it just sort of a gradual, call it, exploration?
No. For me, the story is very, very specific. It was in the ambulance vehicle on the road from the crash of the motorcycle to the hospital. Mind you, so I crashed the motorcycle. It wasn't too crazy, broke the collarbone. There's a thing that I have in here that it was fine. But Raad, I love the question, because for me it was insane. And then the visions afterward and all these things, it was like being wiped clean, and then without the reinstallation, it's like, okay, what in the world's going on? So the person asked me the following question. I'm in the back of the car, of the, whatever that vehicle is, and he's filling out the form. And he says, who's your emergency contact? Who is your emergency contact, for me, was the question that exploded my brain, defragged it. I'll never forget this. It never happened before. It never happened after. I started crying, and it was like this waterfalls. It was very cartoonish. It was mushroom experience. Like, it was just these tears, and it's just like, who is my emergency? Who am I? My parents are back in Bosnia. I'm in San Francisco. I'm no longer married. My friends. It just exploded my brain. Full on, literally. And the guy recognized it. He saw it, and he something as simple
who is your emergency contact, and you realize you don't have an emergency contact.
Yeah. Exactly. And then from there, it just even into this completely, who is your emergency contact? What are you doing? Yeah. What just happened? The adrenaline and everything, because it was a motorcycle crash, right? After all. But for me, that was the very specific moment. And then after surgery, I saw these visions or dreams, or I even joked with the nurses. And I love nurses in general. Shout out to all the nurses out there. The most I've learned in my healthcare career is from nurses. And I've learned from everyone, from doctors and managers and hospital directors. The nurses are the backbone and the wisdom of healthcare. I do have to say that. And I said, hey, ladies, can somebody check my head, please? Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, you're healing beautifully. The surgeon made spectacular. No, I'm seeing images. I'm hearing, like I'm seeing myself on a stage. I saw myself on the stage. I saw a book. I saw this idea for what became the children's book later. It was unreal. It was spectacular. And then I just went into like, okay, well, if we're going to start answering questions, who is your emergency contact? We're just going to go back all the way. Who are you? Who do you want to be? Start listening. And it's kind of ties into the story that we talked about. Mm-hmm. Start listening so that after all this listening, you can create a life that is truly worth hearing. And that started the whole circle for me. That started the whole.
So what did you do? What did you do with that? Yeah. What came out of that?
So then I started walking. Initially, I started walking just for myself throughout San Francisco, and I started following the signs. The very similar usual stories that we have when this 3D reality realm and the spiritual realm starts mixing. And is it just all in our heads? Is it not? I started exploring that, and I started following signs. One thing led to another. I saw a movie, and I believe it was "I'm Not Your Guru" by Tony Robbins. So I went into Tony Robbins and Chloe Bandana's school for strategic intervention. So I got certified as a life coach. I was part of this project, which was called Sidewalk Talk. And we went all across the United States where we would just sit on the sidewalks and invite people to come and sit down and share their story, where I realized, oh my God, I just want to talk. I'm not listening, right? Even though I did listen back then, nowhere near as I'm listening to the voices of the universe today. So started listening, started doing that. Okay, how else can I listen? Then I got into this whole project of reading a book a week, started networking. At one point, I even was able to coach some names in San Francisco and some, figures in the city and all that stuff. So, wrote a children's book. I went into this mode of it was kind of like almost for Olympic training. I jumped into this self-actualization, self-discovery, more than self-help, self-realization with the mixture of new age and science. After all, like you said, I'm a mathematician. I love the scientific method, not the science per se, because it can be purchased and it gets a bad name. But the scientific method, ladies and gentlemen, it's the same for all of us. These are the steps that you follow: idea, hypothesis, steps. I prove it. If you follow it, you get the same results. It's a beautiful thing. And so this mixture of everything, for a kid from Sarajevo, an international student, a naturalized citizen, a successful young executive, nobody who's your emergency contact, a new coach, like all these things were happening because I thought I was driving it. I thought I'm doing the cool thing. In the end, it really was a mission. And the more and more I relaxed into it and aligned the body, the mind, the soul, the spirit could slowly but surely start working through me, because a lot of the things that I do today, I'm literally just witnessing and at awe and amazed, like a kid, almost like, oh my God, did you see that? That just happened. And something profound happens or is delivered through me at this stage. So I love it. I love the journey. I love how it all happened.
I want to just step back for a minute, and I just want to again emphasize for people who are watching, this is why Igor is Igor. Like there's only one Igor. This is why Igor is Igor, and we're all very unique. And this is a compilation of background, call it nurture, nature, life events, right? But I want to step back because you said something to me, and I have an article that I will post at some point that is me basically interviewing Igor with his background. But you said something to me about how you felt that you needed, and I want to go back to this listen part, right? Because a lot of us, especially if we're kind of what do you call it, like our outward facing, or we have an extra portion of us is an extroverted personality, we tend to be engaged and want to talk, and we think we're listening, and we are, but we're also talking. And at some point you realize that maybe I want to listen more, and not because if I do that I'm only just being polite, which it is, but and you're also basically resonating with people because you're letting them speak. But part of it is also because when you listen, you gain, you learn, you grow, right? So I want to just focus on the listening part, because at one point you said to me that you started this walking and listening because you realized that you were seeking wisdom. You were seeking wisdom and exposure because you're at this point of trying to discover and explore, and you were drinking almost from like a fire hose, or like what you said was you're almost like an Olympic training of the self-growth, self-discovery, right? And you figured out the way to do that would be to listen to a book a week and have the voices, I love this, the voices of ancient and contemporary wisdom walk with you.
Yes.
Not walk in front of you, not walk behind you, but actually walk with you, right? You're journeying with those sources of wisdom, right?
Yes.
And so you started doing the reading, the listening to a book once a week, and you started in San Francisco. Take us from there.
Yes. So the beautiful thing that happened, Rad, is when I went into, I want to talk. I want to listen, but I want to talk. So I started exploring all these ideas much, much deeper. And then I said, well, why do I want to talk? Well, I just want to be heard. Just like that sentence, Rad, in the ambulance, who is your emergency contact? I want to be heard was another one of those that just did an explosion in my mind. And so I was like, oh, and how is one heard? By someone listening. Oh, and we all want to be heard. Oh, can I be the listener so I can start listening to them so that they're happy because they're being heard while I'm practicing to hear myself and hear the universe and hear these signs? So from this, I just want to talk, it kind of switched into this, I want to be heard. We all want to be heard. How is that accomplished? Well, it's accomplished through listening. So yes, as I would walk with them, we walk together, walking, listening, and talking for the mind, body, and the soul from some of the greatest minds of the past, present, future, just, like you say, fire hose, just knowledge, wisdom. And also what I do love, initially, I came in with this intention. Now, it worked itself out, but I really came in with two ideas. One is, I'm going to be applying this. I'm not just going to go and be like, oh, hey, I read 1,000 books. No, I'm going to be applying this, sharing my experience as I'm listening to people share their experiences. So the expansion happens naturally and together, and we go through it together. And so I would get the books. And first I thought, well, okay, how can I mix these things? All these ideas are happening. Can I start developing social media? And maybe I walk and map where I walk on Instagram. And while I'm doing it, I'm also reading a book, and we'll grow from there, all these things. And when I started with some audiobooks, I've noticed a couple of things. You can pause it, but you cannot highlight what just struck your core. Your soul heard something, your generational, trauma heard something. A message has been sent and you have felt it. I couldn't highlight it. I couldn't share it. I couldn't do any of those things. So what I end up doing is I was like, okay, well, can the phone read to me what is written on a PDF, on a document in Kindle? And I discovered that you can actually, if you have a Kindle application on your phone and you purchase a book on Amazon and you listen to it on the Kindle application, the phone can read it to you. Now, not only can it read it to you, it reads it sort of without emotions, truly, because it's that robotic and maybe I can at one point even play at how fast it goes now. So it sounds insane. But it was
because at this point you're not even reading it at the normal pace, right? At this point you're reading it faster, and we'll get back to that in a minute. But interestingly, I just want to ask a question. Do you remember the first book that you read or heard?
So the Ask and It Is Given is the official one on the site. That's when the journey starts. And then the YouTube has, I think, maybe 12th one into it. It was the first YouTube video. But Ask and It Is Given.
Ask and It's Given is the first book.
Yes.
Why did you reach for that one as the first book?
At that stage,
it had a nice cover. What was it that made you?
Yes, so it was just following the signs. It was so new to me, all of it, that anything that came in, I was like, okay, add it to the list, or do it now. Ask and it is given. I am rediscovering everything. I am questioning everything.
Perfect, by the way. Yeah.
And I'm somebody says, hey, by the way, dude, it is as simple as ask and it is given. I was like, come on, get out. Ask and it is given. What are you talking about? I'm a kid from Sarajevo. I asked. Oh, well, but I did ask and it was given. It was beautiful for a while, but then it all crashed. How does that all happen, right? Because my mind simply just works that way. But anyway, I discovered this idea that, I just heard something spectacular. I can stop the voiceover. I can go into the Kindle. I can highlight it and then share it with people that I'm working with people that I'm working with on myself, or people that I'm working with as their coach. And I loved the idea. I loved it. Most importantly, Raad, there's no messing around with listening, right? If you're walking down the street and you're listening to the book, two things are going to happen. Either you're fully focused in listening, or you're going to realize, holy crap, I was just thinking about lunch. I need to rewind, right? Then you're listening, and then you're either listening and fully in it, or you're going to recognize that you were just thinking about something else. This is where I started discovering the whole idea of the metacognition. I was like, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Not that I was not aware of these things, right?
What do you mean for those who don't understand? What do you mean by metacognition?
Yeah, so the metacognition in general, the thinking about your thinking, the observation of all the processes, the observation of your, the ability to observe what you just thought and how it felt in your body, and even if the reaction it actually caused. This is the beginning of this whole journey. Once you're able to capture this and notice this and witness this, then you can start playing this. So instead of reaction, we can have a response. Then what kind of a response?
Emotional intelligence, so to speak.
Yeah, there's a mixture of both. It's the connection. I love that you say it that way, because it's difficult to describe, but I truly think it is a step above. So it's the next step. It truly is. It's the next step. It's the body, which will tell you, okay, what is it that you're feeling? With your then cognition in your mind, which will tell you, okay, we're emoting this because we're recognizing we're feeling this, even though you might just be hangry and hungry. I think that was the beginning of truly understanding that, there's whispers from the spirit world that are saying what's happening with the avatar.
Well, and you need, I think it's interesting because I think, to your point, it's the next level. Like there's a whole industry on self-help. There's a whole industry of self-actualization, all this stuff, right? And in many cases, it's fine. But in many cases, it's, again, what is your intention? If your intention is to really take yourself to that deeper level, okay, if you have the fortitude, stamina, and dare I say even courage to actually put yourself in that self-mirroring, right? In that you said it perfectly, realize the difference, as nuanced as it may be, but it's so big between reacting and responding, right? Between hustle and activity and movement, and that movement and activity doesn't necessarily mean progress. Doesn't necessarily
let alone strategic progress, strategic intervention.
Like these things are so nuanced. And what you're talking about is this metacognitive recognition, right? And this emotional intelligence, which are not the same. They're kind of parts of a bigger picture, right? Of a rubrics. But
Mhm.
the fact that you are cognizant of your mental,
Mhm.
your emotional, the
Mhm.
connectivity between the two, you are cognitive of it close to when it's happening or at the time as it's happening. And as you build that muscle, so to speak, of awareness, you get closer to the time that it happens. Then taking it to the next level of how much of that is inherited scripts, how much of that is not really your programming, but an adapted programming, how much of it
Mhm.
is actually a reaction to certain things, how much of it is coming from scarcity and fear versus abundance,
Mhm.
the embracing of your inner child and saying thank you for protecting me all these times, but now basically I got this, and not and
Mhm.
kind of coming to terms with it versus denying or trying to subvert or try to distract because you're
Mhm.
facing a moment of consciousness that is heightened, and it's almost sometimes flying in the face of everything that you convinced yourself was your configuration. and and and
Absolutely.
and and, and that moment, to your point, is the next level.
And Rad, it is all because of listening. Once I started listening, I
To
realized, oh,
yourself,
there's so
actually.
many. Yeah,
You're
exactly.
listening to
There's
yourself,
so,
to your inner self, not just on the
yeah,
outside. Yeah.
yes. You start realizing, this is what I say in my videos, right? Make that choice and decide to listen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you start discovering there are so many things that you can listen to, and the nuances and everything that you just beautifully described, right? All these things. It comes to the point where you can hear yourself overthinking, right? It's like, okay, whoa. Let's step back
Here
because
we,
now
here,
we
we,
can.
here we go again. Here we go again. I'm
Yeah.
overthinking. I'm going down rabbit holes. It's like when you said you're listening to the book, but if you're not really listening, then you're
Yes.
basically you realize very clearly that you weren't listening, because if you were, you wouldn't be feeling, wait a minute, I got to rewind that.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it started with it produced this beautiful ability, which truly is a gift, right? Because sooner or later you are in the present moment and you realize, okay, shouldn't be thinking about that. I should be focusing on this, right? So that initial gap might be seconds, hours, days, weeks, months, years for people to go through an experience that has
Right.
been energetically super powerful,
Yeah.
right?
It's not the
With
same
this
timeline for
practice,
everybody. Right. Yeah.
it's not the same timeline, and it's perfectly fine. What I am saying is you can train, you can practice, and you can bring in the reduction of that. We'll still call it time. You know my
Yeah.
stance on time, especially with listening to things twice. But really, I started shifting towards the energy, the energetic input output needed in order to create now time and space for these things. So then it started being like, okay, well, wait a minute. Can I start shifting away from time and space and into energy, high quality energy, which then through focus and attention creates time and space. And I was shown beautifully that yes, you can absolutely do this. Now, this doesn't mean that everything suddenly is going to be like that. No, you're interacting with a bunch of other individual realities in the game, which is sort of a preset circular collective reality game. But in these individual ones, yeah, you can absolutely start from right now, just from this very moment. You generate high quality energy. That high quality energy moves you into action and you create time and space, and boom, a new phone, a new business, or whatever, right? That to me was, I fell in love with all of that again because I was like that as a teenager. And that is part of that kept us sane. It's kind of, imagine where you are recognizing and
Okay.
competing
So
with friends.
stop for a
Yes,
minute, because you just said something that you hadn't said to me before, but I want to just focus on this. You said
yes,
that's how I was when I was a teenager. For those who are
yes,
basically paying attention and listening to the show,
yes.
is that means that's when you were in Sarajevo and you were under siege. In a
Yes.
war condition where the city that you live in is under siege with snipers on the hills above for 4 years
Yes.
and tanks, and you want to talk about uncertainty and discomfort, right? That you're living in, that is
Yes.
your reality of your life. You basically, the connection with frequency and energy, okay, almost on an instinctive survival level, if I dare say, right, is
Yes.
something that you had actually happened to you, right? You know what that
Yes.
reminds me of? That reminds me of Viktor Frankl. That reminds me
Yeah.
of the beautiful life, even though you're in a concentration camp. It reminds me
Yes.
of the power of conscious decision of how to design your life reality, even in
Yes.
conditions of that nature, right? That you have the ability, if you choose to, and possibly even, dare I say, self-responsibility to
Hmm.
actually embrace this. Because here's a classic case. We talk about Viktor Frankl, and you talk about the World War II, and you talk about the concentration camps, and it's so referenced, right? I mean, I think other than Viktor Frankl, I think maybe the Arthur Brooks' book, his Second Mountain, is the only other one that I know is even referenced more than that by anybody I talk to, right? But the point is, here's a real life example where instinctively, almost on a core survival level, the embracement and importance of energy and frequency for a teenager living in a war-torn conditions under siege. Not just the war is happening over there. You're under siege.
Yeah.
Okay, for people that don't know what Sarajevo looks like, go look at Sarajevo, right? You got surrounding mountains and you've got snipers and tanks. Can you imagine if that was basically the hills of Hollywood Hills in Burbank and you were living in there, what that would feel like? And you basically instinctively embraced this and then later in life reconnected with it, right?
Yes.
But now from a position of more seasoned, clearer, almost intentionally seeking it versus accidentally falling into it.
Yes, going back to it, because I truly believe, Rad, it is where the higher intelligence kicks in to make it "quote unquote" easier. When people think about war, people always think about from their current state of mind and the current circumstances. When you were in a war, year 2, day 789, right? For 789 days, you know that this potentially is your last day. It's not a self-help thing. It's not something that, somebody on The View says. It's not Tony Robbins showing up on TV and saying, hey, you live your life as if it was your last day. No, your friend was here today.
It could easily be your last day.
And tomorrow it's not. Yeah. And this, strangely enough, allows you to relax. This is what I've discovered later and can back with science now and experience. It eases you back into ease, into relaxed state. From a place of ease is where we access different energies, different dimensions, different information, different ideas. The central nervous system works a completely different way. Everything is different. And so what I teach and what I share, your number one goal always is stop, go back to ease. Stop, go back to ease. Practice this first. Before any analysis, before trying to figure out, did we land on the moon? Did we not land on the moon? Who am I? Who are we? Where are we coming from? Why are we here? Stop, go back to ease. Because if you can practice enough, stop and go back to ease with the external world and then slowly internally, this is then where you finally listen and do all these other things.
But
so yeah, it was a natural thing. It's a higher intelligence.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a higher intelligence, but here's what's interesting. Now that I'm talking to you about this, I wonder whether not only is it a higher intelligence, it's a higher intelligence that is internally ingrained. It's part of your human, almost like inheritance. Okay, because
it is you when you step aside.
It's you when you get out of your own way, right? But we're talking about here, and it's kind of interesting. What we're talking about here is when you basically no longer have any pretense of control about your mortality. The fact that your whole reality could end tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Because people go like, how did Viktor Frankl get to the point where that basically was like he could embrace like a beautiful life while he's in a concentration camp? How horrible is those conditions, right? But what I mean, and again, this is not something. This is why I love about having conversations with you. I love doing this show, because in the course of conversation, and we have as a civilization, I think we have basically lost touch with the importance of having conversations that are not predetermined and curated to the point of nausea, to where I know what the outcome is. It's like, well, this is my goal. Well, what does like success look like on this conversation? I don't know what success looks like in the conversation, but the beauty and the uncertainty is the adventure to finding out what happens just by the course of having the conversation. So in having this conversation with you here, I'm having an aha moment, okay? And the aha moment is if you actually are forced, because this is what happened with you in Sarajevo, it was happened with Viktor Frankl. If you are forced to abandon the notion that you have control about your mortality, that is no longer on the table. It could end tomorrow. Yes. Somebody can put a Luger and put it to his head. You could basically get sniped off the hill. You could set off something that was accidental, shrapnel, something that was unexploded ordnance. Like you instinctively, you have no control about your mortality, right? Yes. So one of two things happens. You either are going to be fighting that reality that is so ingrained you have no choice in the matter, or your inherited humanity superpower says you're in the now. You're in the now.
Let's have some. At least let's have some fun.
You're in the now, right? Because people ask all the time, like, how are people in Lebanon basically after all these years of war? How do they basically maintain? Like, how do they live their life? You're looking at it from the outside, from a position of somebody who basically feels like that. Or you can talk about the people in Gaza or people in Israel, like Rwanda is another one. Like how did people have ability to carve out some normalcy of a life under those unbelievable conditions that I can't even fathom somebody doing? I think because there was a death. The death was the death of control. You don't have at that point, right? So the reason why I'm bringing this up is imagine that under those conditions, you don't have a choice. This is what triggers, right? Mm-hmm. But when you have a choice, you have a choice of not letting it get to that point where you are forced into that situation. You are able to choose to embrace uncertainty. You are able to choose to embrace a higher frequency of cognitive connection between your emotional intelligence and the way your brain works. You have a choice of not letting your brain drive the thing, because your brain is going to do it. Your brain is going to basically put you in survival mode all the time. It's going to do that. Yeah. That's just the nature of your brain, right? But if you don't have a choice, here's the outcome. So imagine if you empower yourself when you do have a choice, faced by a difficulty, what you can do. It's really kind of interesting that the core foundation of our humanity, there's a reason why we survived as a species, right? There's a resilience that is inherent in our DNA inheritance as humans. There's also an inherent way of how we exercise that resilience. Is it you and I, you or me, or is it you and me? That is a choice, right? Is it all of us walking side by side, or is it me leading? And if you don't catch up with me, oh well, that's your problem. Like, it's an interesting duality. That walking and listening and witnessing, those are all words that people are like, this is touchy-feely, like granola, Northern California bologna. I challenge and invite people to actually take the challenge of going to the next level. Okay. Yeah. But you have to also put it on your calendar to do so. Show me a calendar and I'll show you what your priorities are. If your priorities are only putting stuff on the calendar that are must-dos or things that are task-oriented, then you're missing out what your calendar, empowering your calendar could do for your own personal growth and journey. I'm sorry, I just got off on a soapbox here because it was a moment.
I love that you. Yeah, I do love when you share these aha moments.
Yeah. And for people who are just joining us later on in the show, part of this is also because Igor actually very early on in my sort of journey at the beginning of this year, Igor actually was a coach for me. And so we have a relationship like that. So this is like a shared aha moment within, call it a mini personal coaching session. The other thing I want to do, because we're gonna run out of time. I know we're gonna run out of time, but I wanna talk about how many books have you actually listened to? How many books have you walked side by side with at this point?
Yes. So today I just posted season 8, book number 50. So there's only 2 more books left in this year. So it's over 400 books, Brad. 413. The next week is going to be 414.
Over how long of a period of time?
This started. So it's 8 years. Season 8. 8 years I've been doing this, and I'm not going to stop until 10 at least.
Okay. So then
I'm not going to stop promoting.
You're
that
not
I'm doing.
Stop. Why would you stop? Why would
Yeah.
you stop? Why would you stop?
No,
Right.
Exactly.
And is it a range of contemporary? Like tell me, the way I describe you, which is really funny because I've described you to a couple of people, right? And I describe you as being, okay, there's one human being on the planet that I know that can walk through the friggin' forest, which is how I actually found Igor to begin with. I saw a video of him walking through the forest, okay? I mean, it was almost like a Blair Witch Project kind of video, right? He's walking through the forest, okay? And he's narrating his thoughts about a book that he has either read or what have you. But he's bringing into the narration and the layering of his take on the book and what he got out of it. He's connecting all these other threads from other books. And the way I describe it, I said, here's Igor. If he's telling you about a book, he could be talking about it from the perspective of everything from Marcus Aurelius to Maslow to like National Lampoon to some authors to some theological thing that's maybe abstract or archaic from the Middle Ages, to contemporary, bringing in maybe like an Arthur Brooks, and he's talking about all of it in the same time in real time while he's walking through the friggin' forest on camera. And I asked him, I said, do you have is this scripted? Is there a prompter in front of you that's basically got all this stuff? Have you already pre-scripted like what you're going to do? And he's like, oh, I didn't even ask you because it's impossible. I mean, to me, you're not going to do that. What it is that's all in your brain, interwoven and being braided. And it's basically layering on here. I'm narrating this book. I mean, it could be like Ryan Holiday, for example, does a lot of Stoicism. He does a lot of Marcus Aurelius. He does a lot of Virgil. He does a lot of that stuff, right? But that's his lane. You transcend categories. You transcend archetypes. And you bring it into a conversation that highlights. So some people, it's too cerebral. I mean, I already know this, right? It may be too cerebral for some people. It may be even hard to follow. But I think for those who are seeking that kind of layering, that are willing to step into that space that seems overwhelming and start to see the continuity, the commonality of threads, right? I mean, I'll just use a very simple example. If you're talking about one religion and then basically talking at it as an isolated situation of theology, or if you're the kind of person that looks at it and looks at other religions and sees the commonality of everything from living a life that is worth basically being recognized on a higher spiritual plane, having common pillars between things, the teachings from a wider perspective versus a narrow lane perspective, then this is sort of like this. And Igor is the only one that I know, or so far that I've encountered, that does this so seamlessly because he's actually taken the journey. So I wanted to just mention that, and why I asked how many books.
Yeah, so I want to add a couple of things to everything that you've said. 2 things. There's actually listening happening while I am walking and doing that thing. That's one thing. The other thing, because I'm, if I can.
Wait, hold on. You're listening to the book that you are narrating and talking about in real time while you are talking?
Yes. So I'm not listening to the book itself, but I actually prepare an audio file of me talking. So I have like this 7-second delay, like it's almost like live TV. It relaxes you in this place where all kinds of things can happen. I can ad-lib it. I can do these things. But yes, there is listening, which to me, that was sort of the ultimate accomplishment then. So as it grew, and as now they're truly book previews. I will give you, in the video, you will get what came through me as the most important things, everything that you've just described and said, which touches mind, body, soul. So there's going to be some stuff for your cognition, for your brain, for your personality, for your ego. There's going to be stuff for your body to feel, to understand. There's going to be stuff for your soul, because it's kind of what I'm working on and presenting for you to align, to return to yourself. So the idea is, listen to the book, get the highlights. From those highlights, create a document. Out of the document, create an audio file. Listen to the audio file again as you're presenting what's going to become a video file. So that's why I love it, because it's unlike anything else that I've experienced, and it kind of became this beautiful thing. And the second thing that I wanted to say, interdisciplinary approach. We all simply, with all the beauty of certain niche and specific things, and I'm a specialist, you have to, I mean, many philosophers have said the same thing, teachers, gurus, what have you. Every time you pick something out of the universe and you want to analyze it as separate, you quickly realize it's connected to everything else. So then the interdisciplinary approach is what was developed from it. Mind, body, soul, personality. But through my own experience, Brad, is what I figured. This is another thing that I figured out. We all do this, right? Mm-hmm. We're in a game. We're trying to, it's like artificial intelligence nowadays. You're in a game, try and figure out what's going on, try and figure out how you're moving, how you get the points and all that stuff, and go out there and play, right? And we just run out there and we just want to share our story, ask our questions, all that stuff. We never have gone through analyzing. So they're like, there's this map, go explore the map. Right? We've never gone through, rarely do we go through, and rare are the ones that do it. Did you check the avatar first prior to going to explore the map to try and figure out what's going on? Check the avatar first. How is it working? What is it doing? Like, oh, and then there's obviously the avatar and one who thinks he's driving, and there's something that's definitely driving the avatar, blah, 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 before we go into the exploration of the map, right? So I wanted to go step back to, like I said, there are times where I literally feel a meditative experience, a mystical, like I'll start it and I'll end it and I'll be like, what just happened almost? It's difficult to put into words. The best way for me to put it into words is oftentimes I witness how it is being delivered through me. That's the best way that I can say. I would never, imagine me in 2014 somewhere at Google and saying, oh, everything is being delivered through us guys and all that stuff.
Well, here's the thing that's interesting, and I think this is a perfect time. And the reason why I asked you about this is because it gets close to sort of what people can experience for what it is that I'm basically going to like share now that we're working on together. Okay, but basically, because of this experience that I had with Igor, I basically wanted to add this as a layer to the Raad life, because we're not building a platform necessarily. We're building a movement. We're building a movement that says you are entitled. Not only are you entitled, I would even challenge and say you are responsible for yourself to basically take charge of this evolution, like consciously, intentionally take charge of your growth, if you will, for lack of a better word, your expansion, right? To basically engage with and empower yourself to design your life on the terms that you want. And one of the things is this. One of the things is experiencing connection around, like, hell, I mean, I'll tell you, I drank from a fire hose when I started this journey in terms of reading books and all this stuff, right? I got more books than I know what to do with in this library. And I read them and I ate them and I voraciously just digested them, right? At some point, the listening, the sharing, the getting input from other people that are maybe experiencing the same source of what wisdom or information that you're exploring, that adds another layer to the journey. It's now you're not just walking alongside the wisdom, you're also walking alongside other people taking the journey. It becomes a pilgrimage, if you will, right? There is a shared experience, right? So with that being said, I just want to tell people about something that we're working on to basically, and then we can discuss it a little bit more. As a result of that, we are going to basically be launching through the Rad Life, which is, again, the website is theradlife.com. RAAD is the way that Rad is spelled, 2 A's. That's my name. And it's called the Freedom Always Book Circle. We're not calling it a book club because it's not a top-down hierarchical thing. It's a circle. It's a round table. Everybody is equal around the table. And the idea behind it is to actually have it be guided, where Igor is, call it the guiding the pilgrimage. We pick a book. It's one book a month. We have 30-minute sessions once a week. And we basically have it limited to 20 people right now, we're thinking, per cohort, because we are not doing a large conference experience, if you will. We want to do a salon gathering experience where it's 20 people. But because of the reach between Igor in Bosnia, myself, other people that are involved in putting this thing together, the people that you're going to encounter in this circle could be from any part of the world. Like, this is not just necessarily people that are in your immediate friend circle, although everybody's welcome, but it's going to be limited to 20 people. We'll play with that number as we see fits. It could get a little less, it could be a little bit more, but we don't want to lose the intimacy of the pilgrimage. And we are going to do this starting in January. There will be an announcement of it in the next email newsletter that goes out. And we will basically have it available on the website, again, theradlife.com. The idea behind it, okay, is this is not, like I said, a book club in the traditional sense, okay? It's about how literature can become a tool for living well, okay? Especially at moments in our life where we're basically looking for that wisdom as we transition or facing difficulties, midlife, if you will, also. And to explore it with intention, attention, and the courage to slow down long enough to actually engage. This is not something, to Igor's point, it's not something I'm going to listen to on the car and then keep rewinding. Because here's the other thing that's interesting and that I learned today when talking to you, Igor, right? Is that in the case of a book, we can rewind. Like like we go through life, right? Let's just use the book as an example. We go through life, and if you're listening, then you're in the now, in the moment, yes, and you're listening. If you're not, you recognize that you're not, in the case of a book listening to a book, because you have to rewind, right? And here's the thing. In that case, you have the ability to rewind, right? But in real life, real relationships, real times when you're interacting with people, like right now, you and I, right? If I'm not listening to you, I cannot rewind, right? That moment is gone. So again, an emphasis on the importance of listening in terms of the value that you get that enriches your immediate life. In a book, I can rewind. In a YouTube video, I can rewind. I can push forward. I can in a streaming, I can do the same thing. In real life, you cannot rewind without having some cost that happens. Oh, I'm sorry, Igor. Could you tell me what you just said again? What did I just say to you? I wasn't listening. I wasn't paying attention. You're not important enough for me to basically give you my attention in the manner that you were trying to engage with when you were speaking to me. So it's interesting. So the book club or the book circle is supposed to give us an ability to slow down long enough in reverence and pay intentionality to actually listen. And how that organically structure happens is going to basically be defined in the course of the personalities around the table, so to speak, right? Every single time. But the idea is to have Igor, with his wealth of knowledge, with his wealth of literary language, I mean, like all this stuff probably in his own head, right? Is to be able to basically guide the conversation. In some cases, I will say right now, we may have the ability to have an author of something that we are reading also participate in the experience. And that is an added layer for me, because I am a person, for example, that does not like to listen to books that are narrated by anybody other than the author. Or I should say, that is my preference. If somebody who's the author narrates their book, it's my preference, because I get a sense of their cadence, how they basically translate the words they put on paper, and I'm reading it as close to their source as possible. It's like why I like a saxophone, for example, because it's a breath coming out through a tube. That's the closest connection point to a soul expressing itself, right? So I think if you're interested, look out for the opportunity to do that, and don't delay, because it's literally going to be the first 20, right? And it's not necessarily for everybody, because look at the level of this engagement, of this conversation that we had. Like this is what you're going to engage with, right? So if you're looking for like a summer read with a couple of people, just kind of having a glass of wine and just having that, not necessarily that you shouldn't drink whatever the heck you want to drink on our 30 minutes together every week, but that's not it. That's not it. This is a little bit more intentional, maybe a little heavier on cerebral, although we'll promise to keep it kind of at least lighthearted and fun, right? There's no quiz. There's no thing to basically fill in at the end of it. What's up, Igor? Tell me.
One thing as well. This is beyond information, sharing information, and you're just like, because there's so much stuff out there. This truly is about recognizing the beauty and the importance of listening, of having place where you feel heard, because I truly believe the number one issue why there's so many, let's just use these words, sad hearts out there, is because they don't have somebody that can truly not only listen to them, but hear them. Sometimes you even get these ideas that people are listening to me, but they're not really hearing me. This is what we're wanting to do. I want you to listen to. I want you to be heard.
Well, that's intimacy. What you just described is also intimacy. I mean, it just occurred to me. What we're talking about is intimacy, and the reason why we're limiting it to 20 people per thing is because we want to have that, the chance for intimacy. It changes the quality of the conversation. Scale changes the quality of conversation. Try to basically going into a networking event with 200 people versus a sit around the table with 8, right? So I think intimacy is another thing that we're trying to basically cultivate during these real conversations, right? And it's about quality of dialogue. People gathering around ideas rather than status or product or performance, if you will, right? And it's not for everybody. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but this is something that I am super excited about. I'm thrilled that you basically said yes to doing this with me, and I can't wait for us to basically start this. And we'll do it every month. We'll pick a book every month. We won't tell you what the book is for January, although we have already picked one. And you will need to basically go to the website to find out more about that, and we'll try to get some literature out there. But Igor has been coaching. You've been coaching for like what 7, 8, 10, maybe a decade almost.
Getting close to a decade. Yeah, we're getting there. But yeah, it's been 8 years now. It's been 8 years, and oh my goodness, I can't even begin to tell you how. Yes,
I was going to say you've got like almost 2,000 people on your YouTube channel, I think, or how many people do you have on YouTube? Much more, I think.
So currently we're getting close to, so there's over 6,000, and this is all organically. I'm not doing any of that clickbaiting stuff, pay to promote stuff, pay to play stuff, none of that stuff. This is just sort of slowly but surely, not to say that at one point we're not going to just expand the reach dramatically, because it's a beautiful thing that needs to be seen and heard. It's organically. I mean, so many people have taken advantage of the test. There's a free test on my website that also, again, tells you, gets you into this world. Again, we all need direction more than information, right? Direction more than information. And then isn't it beautiful when we have a group sitting around fire that says, well, hey, listen, I followed this direction this way, and this would happen to me. Well, listen, I followed direction, and this is what happened to me. And then the author comes in and says, hey, guys, I wrote the direction because I was hoping you get to here, which is just kind of connecting to what you said. Imagine you have an author, and
it's it's an invitation. Like, this is the thing, like the direction, I want to be very clear. The direction that we're talking about here is not somebody giving you direction. It's more about sharing what metabolized for me, for example, in going through the journey and the reading of the book, and encouraging you to find your own direction, but also be empowered by my personable sharing of my own experience, and coming around a table of 20, let's say, or whatever, a smaller scale thing, gives us the ability to do that, right? We're not trying to, like, if your intention is to basically come in and be told what that direction is, that's not it.
Yeah,
we're
don't
inviting
come.
you.
Don't come.
Yeah, don't come. Yeah. We're inviting you to come with us and basically hear everybody's personal experience of while reading this book. For example, it will trigger other shares beyond, and then at the same time, it will be something that's basically private to that group. Like we may pick some moments so there's an intimacy component to this, and we will probably kick it off like in the first 10 days of January. So I'm telling people to look out for this, and if you're interested in it, please go ahead and do it. There's no cost at this point. We're not charging for this. We are also looking forward to having the ability to learn and listen and hear other people's experience around the table with a common thread of, call it a rudder, if you will, or a compass of the book. Like it's structured around this intentionally around a particular book. But it's going to be a different kind of experience. I've been part of book clubs. I've been part of like little groups, like in futurist groups and stuff like that. This is different. This is going to be literally developing relationships with people that may be like-minded, maybe a little bit ahead of you in the journey, maybe a little bit behind you in the journey, maybe right there with you. And it's going to give a sense of kinship, belonging around something. And then again, we will probably have it where it's every book that we pick is either part of a growth series as we go to the next month and the next month, or we might do ones that are able to be expandable, like where they could be an entry point. It could also be where somebody is a little bit further along, right? And we'll try to basically preface that in when we open it up for every month's cohort, because we want to make sure that people have a sense where they're at, what their comfort level is. It's a warm hearth, sit around a fire, and basically share and share. Yeah.
Right. Just one cool thing to kind of everything that you're saying.
Yeah.
The coolest thing about listening is you never know where listening is going to take you. With talking, you know exactly where talking is going to take you. Actually, you prepared the talk thinking you want the talk to take you somewhere. With listening, you have no idea where we're going.
Yeah. So that being said, I know we've run over a little bit. And I want to give people, again, if you're interested in the Freedom Always book circle that launches in January 2026, look at the Raad Life, THERAADLIFE.com, and reach out to us and let us know if you're interested. We will announce probably before the end of the year. We'll announce the book. There will be a page relevant to the book circle. And Igor is going to be, call it first chair. If I use a music term, Igor will be first chair. I'll be second chair. Although there are no third chairs, everybody else will be second chair, or even like maybe first and a half chair, and I'll be basically the one sitting in the back of the room. But
who knows? We might just start and then playing musical chairs. We'll see.
We can play musical chairs. We can play music. We're really going to basically, craft this thing based on the cohort. I really want this to be a very, very personalized experience for everybody who joins. The first book, I think, is a great book that we are basically picking. And it's going to be an interesting one because I don't think we can get it in print. I think we can, but I have to look and see, because the original print of it is difficult to get. And it's a collector item. And I think you can, maybe if you're lucky, you can get it for $70. If you're not, you get it for like $200 or something. But I believe there is a there is a paperback version for the hardback. I usually like hardback books because they're just a little bit more meaningful. But we'll put that all information on the website again. And if you're interested, reach out to us. We'll probably put this podcast out also this coming week for people to be aware of this. Igor, I am so looking forward to this.
Me
so
too.
looking forward to it.
I'm excited. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
very excited. Yes.
And before we go, please give people also the website for you, because the other thing we're going to do on the Raad Life is Igor is working on developing a program for coaching through the Raad Life that is going to be added to our coaching offering. We have a few coaches there. There's a couple other ones coming on board in 2026, and we really want the Raad Life. I really want the Raad Life to be a platform that is a community hub. I want us to basically go to that, look at that, share openly. Again, I put out an invitation to anybody who's interested in writing an article that can go on the media website. Let me know. Some of those articles may find their way into the print issue of the magazine, which we mail directly to homes. And there are going to be 2 print copies a year, 2 issues a year that come out right now is the plan. But there's constantly new articles, new shares, new things to discover on the site that will be on the media site. So give people where they can find more about you, and let's go from there.
The easiest way, just remember SF as San Francisco, Walker as a walking person. sfwalker.com is my website. There's all kinds of cool things that you can find there. And the YouTube channel also, if you go SF Walker, the YouTube channel, this is where the books are. This is where some of the, this is where in the next coming year, there's going to be some surprises as well. I'm going to start doing some additional things too. So sfwalker.com is the easiest way to find me. And the YouTube channel is also very easy for you guys to find me. And yeah, reach out. I look forward to people reaching out, and I love starting these conversations. Like I said, I love to listen, so it's always kind of fun for me.
Buddy, thank you for being on the show.
Raad, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's a real pleasure to have you on the show. I always walk away from our conversations energized and having learned something. And you know, I never really put it into words, but, you know, just remember, everybody, you may be able to rewind a book because you're not paying attention in the moment. You may be able to rewind the book and re-listen to it. You may be able to rewind a streaming video because you're not paying attention, right? But intentionality, paying attention, being in the moment, not to sound like a cliche, but being in the now, because here's the reality of life. You cannot rewind life. If you miss that moment, you can try to basically restructure it. You can probably try to recreate it, but that moment that you missed is gone.
Yep.
So if we got nothing out of this episode other than that is pretty powerful clarity.
Very much so. And make that choice and decide to listen.
Because you have the right, yet dare I say, the responsibility to yourself to give yourself permission to design your life on your own terms every moment of every day, even with the responsibilities and the duties professionally, personally that you have the ability and the right to give to yourself and design the life that you want on your terms. With that being said, thank you for joining us for another episode of The Raad Life. I hope that you found this as intriguing and interesting as I did, and I hope you join us for the next one. Meanwhile, if you're interested in other videos that we've done, other interviews that we've done with some key people in the past, please look for The Raad Life on YouTube. There's about 280 videos that we've been the whole library of 10 years worth of content. And then you can look at some other content, materials, etc., as resources on theradlife.com. Please subscribe. Let me know what you think. Igor, love you, my friend, and I look forward to seeing you in January. I wish you a happy holidays to you and yours. Keep listening.
Take care. Take care. Love and respect.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Raad Life.